what is this data service? Lightning data services, LDS. Now, in the Visual Force, if you remember, we had an operation called Apex page standard controller equal to account, where I used to give Apex form page block. Listen to the concept carefully. We are referring to account.name. So what was this? If you want to refer to the properties of a object, if you want to create any record, you want to update any record, you want to delete any record without using Apex classes. Without using Apex class, if you want to interact with the database without using Apex class, then we used to use a concept called Apex page standard controller equal to account. Then we used to say account.name, account.phone, account.industry. This is how we used to refer, right? Without referring to the Apex class, if you want to interact with the database, you will be using standard control equal to account, and on the top of it, I can perform the operations like this. Apex page block buttons. Pets command button value equal to action equal to. Am I right, boss? So what is the use of this? Without writing any server side controller, we are able to interact with the database, that may be for fetching the record, updating the record, saving the record, deleting the record. Am I right? Now, exactly the same format, if you want to use in the Lightning, how will you achieve? Without writing any server side controller, if you want to perform a DML operations or you want to retrieve a data from the server side, how will you fetch it? In the Visual Force, we had this concept. In the Lightning, we have Lightning data services. Lightning data service is exactly like taking standard control equal to S object. When I said standard control equal to S object, we can refer to the fields of the S object, we can save the data, we can edit the data, we can read the data, we can have a list view without referring to the server side controller. The same, if you want to implement in the Lightning concept, we'll go with the Lightning data services. I hope you got the concept, right? I hope you got the concept. What was that? Without going to the server side, if you want to interact with the database, you want to save a record, you want to update a record, you want to delete a record, then we go for Lightning data services. Okay, this is one of the concept where we are going to use. What is the advantage of going for this? Let us say I have an example. Look at this example. I have a parent component. This is one parent component. This is my parent component. In the parent component, I have component 1, component 2. There are four components. There are four components. All the four components are writing a SQL query to get the same data. Now let us say it is displaying name, it is displaying like this. It is also trying to display the data, but a different view. View may be different. At the end of the game, all of them are referring to the data from a same object. We had four components, and all of them are referring to the data from same. So just to get it understanding, I am taking a same record. You might have displayed the child records. You might written some XYZ logic. You may have your own logics. We had now, if I want to get this data, what did you do? What have I done? I have written a SQL query. SQL query saying that select name, industry, ownership from. Again, this component is also writing SQL query. This component also SQL query. This component also SQL query. Now, when I load this component, how many SQL queries are going? 4 SQL queries. Every SQL query requires a database interaction. Every SQL query requires a database interaction. So, how many database connections are established here? Now, it is letting the server performance down. It is letting the server performance down because all the four components are for independent. All the four components are for independent. If you are making a SQL queries, all the four are writing for different queries and they are running parallelly. Are you getting my point? So how many times the SQL queries are running? 4 times. Because of which server burden is done. Boss, when you are getting the data from the same object, why should I write the query 4 times? When you are interacting with the same database, when you are interacting with the same table, why to write 4 SQL queries? That is the reason they have interaction with the LDS. So what the LDS? They will synchronize and see what are the queries we need to write. They will serialize, they will identify what queries, what data. Then they will scrutinize and make a number of queries, shorten the number of queries, then make it. Now if I am using LDS, how many SQL queries will run? Only one SQL query. And it will have a strong internal cache. It will have a strong internal cache which will hold the data which is used in multiple components, and if any component requires the data, it will not directly make a call to server, it will see whether data is there in the cache or not. Now what is the cache? The cache is common for entire component. The component may have number of child elements, but the cache is common for entire components. For all these components, they had a common cache. If any one of the component is requesting any data, first I will see the data is there in my cache or not. If it is not there, then I will go to the server operation. Like this, we are reducing the number of calls to the server. We are avoiding the number of repetitive SQL queries regarding the same data. We are avoiding number of repetitive SQL queries regarding the same data. Right. So this processing this. Are you getting my point? Okay. Now, if somebody modified this data, here somebody modified the data, saying private to public. Then what happened? All 4 components are for individual. Then what happened? If it is a reloading should be done. Boss, if they are using LDS, any change, because all the 4 are referring to the same data, it will be there in the cache. Any change that is done on this component, it will be automatically reflected in the remaining components. So, consistency of the data is maintained. Consistency of the data is maintained. So, if I modify the data here, automatically it will be updating here, updating here, updating here. Now, generally in the visual force, what happened? When I modify on event, on change, go to Apex class, okay, action function, on change, JavaScript will call action function will go to server, make the changes and reload the page. But whereas here, they have inbuilt data consistency caching. So any change made on any one of the element, so that will be automatically notified to all remaining. So this is called notification. They have component notification. LDS have internal component notification. Any one of the component modify the data, which is also used in multiple components of the same. If any one of the component is modifying the data, which is used in other components of the same functionality, then automatically they will be notified. Boss, the following changes are done. But generally, in the Visual Course, how will you do that? Streaming API. In the integration classes, we will be learning a concept called streaming API. What is that? If same data is used in multiple pages, if any one of the page data is modified, automatically rest of the pages should be refreshed automatically. The streaming API. The same streaming API concept is here available as a inbuilt in the form of component notifications. It is available in the form of component notification. So what are the strong features of this? Strong caching, then data consistency and notifications and avoiding number of server side calls. Are you clear about this? Are you clear about this? Okay. So let us come back to more theoretical information. Basic concept is clear. So what is this? Without having a server side controller, you want to make a changes on the database, retrieve the data or insert the data, update the data, delete the data. Without having a server side controller, I want to insert the data in database, fetch the record from database, update the record and delete the record. That is the meaning of standard controller also. In the VF page, whatever the standard controller is doing, same functionality I am trying to achieve in the Lightning by using LDS. I hope you are good. Okay. So it has a lot of critical information. So let me open the documentation of this. Lightning data service. Right, is that okay? No issue. So what was the Lightning? This is basically used for what? Data. Okay, Lightning data service is to load, create, edit, or delete a record in your component without requiring Apex code. What is the purpose of Lightning design system? It is used to load means fetching the data. Load, create, edit, delete a record in your component without having server side controller. Okay. Right. Basically. Now, if you are going for a visual force page, till the visual force page will be running as with sharing or without sharing. When I have visual force page, Apex page, standard control equal to account, then what happened? Whoever is running the page according to his OWDs, according to his sharing rules, the page will be running. Whenever I have a page with standard control equal to account, if Sham is opening according to the Sham profiles, OWDs, sharing rules, everything will be applied on the page. So whatever that you are allowed to see, only the data will be visible. Whenever we are having a visual force page with a standard controller equal to object, that page will run like the page will respect all the sharing rules and properties of user context. When you are writing a program in the Apex class, then trying to display the data in the VF page, it is Apex context. Whenever we are having a controller, Apex page controller equal to class name, then we have a choice with the sharing class or without sharing class. But when you have a Apex page standard control equal to account, it is with the sharing only. That means the current user who is running, his properties will be taken into consideration. Similarly, LDS also respect the properties of sharing rules, OWDs, profile. So LDS also will be running as what? user context. Wherever I was using LDS, it is also going to run in the context of user. Wherever I was using LDS, it is also going to run in the context of user. So LDS will run in the context of user. That's what we got. Lightning data service handles sharing rules, field level security for you as per the user context. The next. Then, if you are going for this, then all these stories what we explained only, right? Fine. What are the operations we can perform? Loading a record, saving a record, creating a record, deleting a record, updating a record, errors, and if in case one use case they are there, right, boss? Basically, this is the context. Lightning design system. If you want to use a lightning design system, how do you go for it? If you want to use a lightning design system, how do you go for it? Okay, let us see this. If you want to go for a lightning design system, first we are supposed to understand one component called force record data. What was that? Force record data. This is the component which we are going to use. So the component is not available. No issue. So what is the component we are going to use, boss? Force record data. This is the component what we are going to use. So they're not showing the component. We need to see the attributes. No issue. Let me give you component reference.
From couple of days, we are not able to access Salesforce documents, Satish. I don't know why.
They're giving some authentication notification like security notification for European GPR something, maybe something related to that. Right. Let us see.
GDPR.
Yeah, some European nations, some GDP is coming. I have to go through that document. The entire this thing, but maybe related to this. So component library. I think the structure is changing. I guess maybe basically no issue. Okay, let us go ahead with our own structure. So when you're going for a force record, what was this force record and why we are going to use it? What was the force record? Why we are going to use it? When I say force record, generally in the visual force page, if you are giving this page, let us say example. VFP. If you are opening this page, how do you open this page? Example question mark ID equal to some account ID. When you give this account ID, then only the record will be loaded, right? Without giving the account ID in the URL, will the record ID pass? Will the record will be opened? If I want to use standard control equal to any subject, if I want to use a standard control equal to any subject, and I want to display the data in the page, then we are supposed to pass the ID of the record on the URL. Now, in the Lightning, whatever the LDS we are using, it is exactly same like your standard controller. So, if you want to load the record, ID of the record should be passed in the URL. If you want to load the record, ID of the record should be passed in the URL. Now, I have to make sure that ID of the record is passed. I have to make sure the ID of the record is passed to make sure that we had record ID. So whatever the record ID we are passing, that ID will be given here. Record ID, ports record data. One of the attribute is record ID. ID of the record, what you are passing in the URL. Whatever the ID you are passing in the URL, that is referred by record ID. It is a attribute of ports record data. The next one, mode. So when you open a page block, there will be mode. What is that? Edit mode, detail mode. Similarly, in the Lightning components, when you are using a record, they are asking in which mode you want to open. You want to display this record, or you want to edit this record. You want the record to be opened in the edit mode, like input text, or you want the record to be displayed in the view mode. So mode is two types. One is edit mode, other one is view. Edit is if you want to make any modification. View, you only to display the record. So what is the mode? Mode can be either edit or view, which determines the behavior of notification operation. Okay. Then layout. Now they are asking, boss, which fields of the record should be fetched? Now, if I want the records to be fetched, what we will be doing? An example I am going to say. In the Visual Force page, whichever the fields we are using, Apex page, account.name, account.phone, account.industry, those fields are fetched. If you are using a standard controller or standard set controller in extension, what will happen? Only ID will be passed. Extra fields, what I want, I am fetching it. Similarly, now you are fetching the record ID. Based on the record ID, you are supposed to get the record. Which fields of these records should be fetched? I only gave ID on the top. Based on the ID, I was supposed to fetch the record. Which fields of the record should be fetched? So there are two types. What type of layout you want to use? One is a full, other one is compact. Full means like your page layout. Whatever the fields are used in the page layout, get me all those fields. Compact. What all the fields are used in the compact, get me those. To tell you exactly what this is, let me go to Lightning. When I open this, here we are able to see account name, close date, amount, opportunity name, right? The other, if you go to the record, you are able to see here. What was this? Account name. Now you are able to see this. You are able to see account name. This is not a complete record. This is not a complete record. This is not complete record. Are you getting my point? This is not a complete record. So this is called whatever the fields are added to the compact layout, those fields will be displayed here. Other fields you want to see? Look at this. These are the fields. This is the fields which are in the compact layout, they will be displayed here. Then when I say full, this is the detail page. Full means all the fields which are in the detail. Detail means all the fields which are on the detail. The fields which you are finding here, they are called compact. Right? So on the compact layout, what all the fields are there? On the lightning card, what are the fields you are able to see? They are. Detail is a full. So you want to go for a compact or a full. That's what they are saying. What was this? Layout, full, compact. The documentation is not open, so I am just showing from the trailer page attributes. Okay. So what is the format? Full or compact? Okay. Now, if you don't want to include the layouts, boss, I'm not sure whether to go for a full or okay compact. I will tell the name of the fields directly. I don't want to give layout full array compact. I'll straight away give the name of the fields. Then you can go with the fields. I can straight away give the list of fields. I can take the fields from layout or I can take the directly field names. I can give directly field names or I can give directly field names or I can say layout. Layout is full or compact. That is clear? Clear, boss? Everyone has got it. Mode, layout, fields. Okay. Now you got the record. You told which fields you need. You got the ID. Using that ID, this fields data is fetched. Now whatever the record that is fetched, where is that record? In the URL you are giving an ID, and in the attribute you are saying fields. These are the fields, and I am saying layout type equal to full. I got the following fields. From that record ID, get the following fields. From that, using that record ID, get the following fields. Now we are getting a record. Where is that record saved? That we are giving target record. The record which is populated based on the record ID and the fields what we are given, that record ID is in a target record. Now it is in the form of record. No, don't populate in the form of record. Give in the form of fields and record. So what is that? Target fields. Any one is sufficient. Both are not necessary. Either target record or target fields. Any one. Then in case if there is any error, how will you handle? Target error. So what are the attributes you are finding for force record data? One is record ID. ID of the record what you are passing. Mode, is it a edit or a view? Layout, full or a compact. Then fields, whichever the fields you want to retrieve. Record, okay, target record. So from that ID with this fields, get me the record, and target fields straight away in the form of fields we are getting error. This is the format. I hope you are good with this. I hope you are good with this. Clear? So this is how force record data is used. This is the component. The core concept is handled by force record data. Now, if you want to use this, there are some properties we need to understand. If you want to use this, there are some properties. What are those properties? Let us see. If I want to use this, first we have flexi. These are the two interfaces you are supposed to handle. Let me give you, to avoid the confusion, straight away I'll take it from the component. Lightning component. Now, data example. We had lightning page, lightning record page. I selected these two. When I select these two, you're basically supposed to write these, but by selecting that also you'll get this. When I select this, I'll be getting multiple interfaces. Out of these, two interfaces I require. Available for home page. In the record home page, I can use this component. Whatever the component I created, this component can be included in the record home page. What is record home page? This is what? Record home page. When I open the record, this is the home page of the record. This is the home page of the record. So the component what I created, I can use that component on the home page. I can include that component what I created within the home page. Once I complete this activity, that component I am going to add in the home page. Somewhere on the home page I am going to add. Like it is one component, second component, third component. I can include one component. Okay. So available for home page. Then has record ID. It will ensure that record ID is passed. If record ID is not passed, we cannot get the data. So hash record ID, it will ensure that record ID is passed in the URL. It will ensure that record ID is passed in the URL. I hope you are good with this. Clear? Okay. Then
Can you show which two options you selected to get this interface?
okay, home page, record page. Home page, record page. Writing page, record home page. Lighting page, record page. Basically, you're supposed to type this. Okay. Next. Yura, force, record, record ID. Whatever the record ID we are getting. Then we had mode. Then we have layout type. Then we have fields. We have target. Target record. Then we have target fields. Target error. Right. First, these properties are clear. If you have clarity about these properties, then I'll go ahead. Anyone has any query about these properties? What I have given here?
Clear.
So, Satish, these target fields, are those optional or are those mandatory?
Come again. These fields.
There are three fields related to target, right? Like target record, target fields, and
target fields, target. Either any two is mandatory. Record, target record and error, or target fields and error.
okay.
Any two is mandatory because this will give a record. This also will give a record. And this is to handle error.
Okay. Thank you.
So first, as usual, first one. What is the first one we had? Record ID. What is the ID of the record which you are going to take? Record ID. Record ID. Okay. Record ID. So if you look at this, someone has asked me just now. Target fields, they are not given target record. Target fields is given, they are not given target record because any one will do. Any one will do. Okay. So go back to the point. These are page. So record ID. Where are you going to store this record ID? V dot. When I am using V, what does it mean? Attribute. If I am using V, what does it mean? Attribute. Mode, edit. If I don't mention any mode, by default it is going to be view. Then layout. No, you want to specify either layout I am going to use or fields. Any one I will use. Both I will not use generally. Any one I am going to use. The name. Or to tell you these attributes are there, I am using all. But practically either you use layout or fields. Name, phone, industry. Target record. Record. Then we have some. So these two. Any one I can use. Either of it. Any one I will use. Simple record. So this is how we created this component. When I created this component, you are supposed to create attribute. Name. How many attributes we require now? 1, 2, 3. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. First one. record ID. Type. Second one, v dot record. Record type. It is going to be object. Then we had simple record. It is going to be then last we had so what it is going to do, whatever the record ID you are passing in the URL, that record ID is stored to this variable. Okay. Now using that record ID, the following fields are fetched. There is a record is fetched. Where is that record stored? The same record is stored in this. Whatever the error message we received, that is saved here. I hope you are good with this, right? So based on that ID, the following fields are fetched. Whatever the record we are fetching, they are stored to these attributes. Okay. Now initially I will make it very simple. How you display the data? V dot simple record dot simple record dot record dot what is this next one? Very basic level. So you are passing an ID, I am taking that ID and I am taking the data. Whatever the data I have fetched, that is stored in a record. The data from the record is printed. V dot record dot field. Okay. V dot target fields. Simple record dot field name. Now this is the component what I created. I told you already. If the component is having available for record home, it can be added within the home page of the record. Now it will ensure that record ID is passed. Without record ID, if you are calling this, it will throw error message. Right? It will ensure that record ID is passed. Okay. Now what I will do, I wrote for account object, right? Name, it can be used for account. So go to the account object only, fine, good. Go to the account object. If you go to the account object, if I click on setup, what are you finding here? Edit page, edit object, edit page. If I click on edit page, it will take me to the Lightning app builder. It will take me to the Lightning app builder. Let the page be loaded completely. Okay. Now let us see whether our component is available or not. Data example, our component is available. Drag and drop. I'll put on the top. Then save it. Activate. SN org defaults. Ensure that it's saved one more time. Go back to the back. Let me reload. Bug was there.
We didn't activated it.
Yes, we activated. Let me check out one more time.
No, here's a problem with the component. We missed the assignment symbol. The error on the recorder.
Come again. Let me check out.
In the component lightning page, we missed the estimator symbol.
Line number?
Line number, it is 9.
9.
Target error. Target error.
Target error?
Estimator symbol.
Yeah.
And the record ID, estimate symbol is there.
Yes. Thank you.
Welcome.
So, we have created this. Go back to the page again. Go back to the component. Now look at this. What happened here? We are getting the account name of the account, phone number, ID. So we create a component, we are adding it. Now I want to decorate it with some style. When you want to decorate with some style, so right now at this level, I'm just copy pasting some of the lightning card. We had a lightning card, we just copy pasting it. The same template will be copied from where? From where should I copy this code? From where should I copy this code? If you want a lightning card, go to SLDS. There go to the lightning card. Whatever the code we got, copy paste. Okay. Here I am going to the lightning card. I remove this. So we are copying. So what I'm giving? Lightning card. What is the card we are copying? Lightning card code we are copying. Go to SLDS. Go to the lightning card. You'll be finding the code. What we have done in the last sessions, we went there, just copy the code and paste it. Here we are going to give. What is the name we are printing here? Sample record dot name. Okay. Sample record dot name. Sample record dot. What is the other data we are going to print? So in the P, lightning formatted text. Industry. Right. Go back to this. We just printed in the regular format. So we want to add some style, border, like a card we want to print. We want to print like a card. So we modified it. How this was printed here? Like a card it was printed, right? Name, industry, phone number. Previously it was a regular format, now we are printing like a card. So what did we do? We created a component, we are fetching the data, we created one card, added to the record home page. Now I was able to add it to record home page because I implemented an interface. I told record home, lightning record. If I enable that button, we are going to get it. Lightning page, lightning record. If we enable, we are going to get a flexible record home page. Did you get my point? Is that was clear? Is that was clear? So we try one more example. If you have followed, I'll go to next concept. Otherwise, I'll write one more code. Have you followed?
Satish, I have little confusion in using that force component attributes.
This?
I mean the attributes inside the component. Yeah.
Now let us say I'm removing this. Now I explained the component. Now I'm removing one by one. Let us see. I removed that record, target record I removed. One more time I'll refresh. So why? Because any one is sufficient. What is that? Target record fields, right? Any one I can use. If you are using a target record, record dot fields dot record dot fields dot field name. V dot record dot V dot record dot fields dot field name dot value. If it's a record, how should I take? How should I take? V dot record dot fields dot field name dot value. How will you take? How will you take? V dot record dot fields dot field name dot value. If it is a target fields, v dot target field name dot field name. That is the reason we prefer to go with both are used to print the data. One is if you are using target fields. If you are using a target record, v dot right. So which is easier for us? Target field. That's why we are preferring. But we are telling both of them are available. Both the choices are available. Okay. Some of the documentation is not opening. I'll open the documentation and show you. Okay. So this is the format. Second, let us go to the next. Now,
Satish, sorry to interrupt. Can you just explain like lightning card? How did we copy the lightning card?
yeah, I'll do that. So the only reason is I don't want to make the things complex at the initial level. So I'm just simplifying it by just copy pasting it. Okay. So we'll dig into it in detail. Don't worry. But initially I don't want to terrify. So I'm just trying to simplify the things.
Satish, there is a PDF file for the Lightning developer guide.
1 minute. Let me finish up this example. Now I remove the fields, but is there any effect here? No. Why? Because I told you can use a layout or you can use a fields. Because there are two attributes, I was trying to explain both of them. If you use a layout or a field, any one will do. A layout will do, or layout type will do, or fields will do. Okay. Because I want to explain both the things, I have created both the things here. Right? Or did you get my point? Okay. Let me do one by one. Yeah. What was your query, boss?
The lightning card we copied, right? Like
Yeah.
this. I'll display.
Go to. What was the thing we have used? Lightning card. In the lightning card. Now, how you want the data? You want the message to be printed in this format, right? Without button. So copy this code. You want the message to be printed just like this? Copy this code. You want they have given samples here. You choose whatever the sample are. So the current sample what we have used is this. Show this. Copy the code, use it. If you don't want SCG, any icons, remove that SCG. Right. The sample codes were given here. We are trying to take the sample codes here. Sample code from here. So in order to understand it, we need to spend some time. That's the reason I'm not touching these things as of now. When you go to discuss about this SLAs, okay, we'll be spending separate sessions for this to understand what is the structures. They will be giving a clear details. Now we are just working on the functionalities, not on the design levels. We're just copy pasting the design level code. We're only trying to understand the functionality level of every component. Right, boss? Right, boss?
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Now come back. So once again, I'll repeat. We are going to have in detail sessions about designing systems and all those things. Initially, I am interested in to convey what all the topics are there in the lightning. Okay. So when you join all of them and make a functionalities, then I'll go for joining all of them and making a functionality. Last step I'll be going for design system, because the design system is a dig system. Now we need to understand the existing code, because we are not writing a code trying to understand the existing code. So we don't want to break your head in the initial cases. So the design system will be coming at the end. Initially, what are the different levels of concepts are there in the lightning, how to use them. Then I'll go with a combination. Then last I'll come with a designing explanation. Right, boss? So there's a sequence of I have a sequence. So don't break my sequence. Okay. Right, come back. Now let us go back to the format one more time. New lightning component example 2. What was that? Lightning page, card page. So when you are creating this, let's see page. So what is the meaning of this? If this interface is implemented, then we can use this component, we can embed on the home page. Next, force as record. This will ensure record ID is passed in the URL. Right? First two interfaces. Then what we had? Force record data. In the force record data, what is the first one? Record ID. What is this record ID? ID of the record that is passed in the URL. So what is that record ID? ID of the record which is passed in the. Then we had mode edit. Then layout. What type of layout? We have the options of full and compact. No, you don't want to give a layout. We can also go with the fields. What are the fields we are giving? Name, then we had target fields. Target fields. The record fetcher using these fields. That's a target field. Then we have target error what we fetch. And to store this data, we require attributes. What are the attributes we are giving? Attribute name equal to attribute name equal to my record type equal to attribute name equal to right. So we are going to use these attributes here. V dot for it. V dot we can straight away give, but if you want to apply any CSS look and feel, you want to get any proper look and feel, we are going to copy one of the existing template. As you want to use, as I want to apply one of the existing template. So I am going to copy one of the existing template. Lightning card. This code is related to what? Lightning card code. Lightning card. This code is related to lightning card. You can look at this. Div, what was this? Lightning card. In the lightning card, what are we giving here? I will write modified code. Okay. Now I have taken lightning card. So when you are going for a lightning call, you need to understand this process. What was this? We understand. So here I want to go for icon. What is icon? Standard opportunity. Standard opportunity. title. So the title is beside the icon. What is the title we are getting? So my record dot. Now you need to understand these styles. So we need to spend some separate time to understand what is the hyphen, what is this double hyphen. This we need to understand. Okay. So it's too early to discuss those things. So what I'm doing, lightning code here in the P I'm giving. We already know lightning dot input value equal to v dot my record dot. So what I was giving input label equal to, I was giving one more. So if I want to give this, I was supposed to give mode equal to, only when I give mode equal to edit, I'll be getting this. So layout type is not layout, it's layout type, and L is small. What was that? Next, your attribute, your attribute. Right, boss? So it is a lightning card. In the lightning card, what I have taken? Paragraph 1, input text. Why did I take P? P I have taken so that it will come in every next line. Okay. So to get the proper look and feel, the CSS is applied. So this is how we have created a component with attributes. Now what I want to do, this is an opportunity. I want to add this to opportunity. How do you add this to opportunity? Go to opportunities, open any record, then add this is a record home page, and go to settings, edit page, save, activation. Right. Go back to the record. Now I give it in the edit mode. Name, stage name, close it. Now here title I have not given here. Title I left it in half. I have not completed the title here. What did I give? My record dot name. Suppose you get title, no issue. So did you get the component here? What I'm doing, creating a component and making. Now once I enter the data, I want to save the data. Once you enter the data, I want to update, I want to save. Then for that, again separate services are there. Now what is this service? Loading the record. Now the service is only loading the record. The service is only loading the record. Now let us see this. You want to go for a record, v dot, we can add. So I hope you are good with this. Okay. Now let us see. Once you have created whatever the data we entered in that box, if you want to update to the database, we need to call a button. So once I enter the data, I will create a button. When I click on the button, record will be saved to database. When I click on the button, record will be saved to database. Now for this, how do you recognize this element? You are supposed to recognize this element. So how do you recognize this element? We will recognize this element by using ID. URA ID. So generally in the Visual Force, what we do? ID equal to ID of the element. But in the Lightning, we are going to give URA colon ID. We are going to give URA colon ID. In the Lightning, we are going to give URA colon ID. Okay. Now here, if you want to recognize the element by using an ID, first we need to know how to get the elements using an ID. We have seen how to read the value of a component, how to set the value of a component, how to read the value from a component using a v dot attribute name, how to set the value of an attribute, v dot attribute name, get and set. So all the examples, whatever you have done, all of them are referring to the attributes of a component, but we never refer to an element using an ID. In the JavaScript, if you want to refer to an element by using ID, what will you do? Document dot get element by ID, so and so. But the same story in the Lightning, how do you refer to the element by using an ID? In the JavaScript, we use document dot get element by ID. In the similar way, in the Lightning, how will you refer to an element by using an ID? So here we had component dot find ID. What is the concept we are going to use? We are going to use component dot find. In the component, find the give the ID. In the component, find the element whose ID is matching. Find the element whose ID is matching. Component dot find. Component dot find. Component dot find. So this component dot find will give you what? Record. Record data will refer to record. Record data will refer to record. That record dot save record. The record dot save record. Now component dot find the element whose ID is given for record ID, record data. Now I gave ID for this record data, right? Now get my ID. Once you get my ID, component dot find my ID. So if I know I am referring to this component, what is there in that component? What is there in that component? Record is there. That record we want to save. Okay. Now I'll explain the rough code. We'll see the executions tomorrow, but I'll explain the rough code. First, let us find. So what I'm doing? Component dot find my ID. In our case, what is the ID we gave? Find my ID, save record. When you save the record, record is saved successfully or not saved, or an exception or an error, we should know. You are trying to save the record, DML may be a success or a failure. DML may be a success or a failure, an exception. So I want to know whether it is a success or a failure. How do you know? Right? We are going to make it. Whether it is a success or a failure, then I want to know the result. So how do you get the result? Save result. Database dot save result equal to database dot insert record comma true or false. Now we are inserting. When you are making an insertion of this record, then I want to get the callback. Callback is what? Whether it's a success or a failure, I want to get back. So what is the concept here? Component dot find ID, where ID is related to record data. Component dot find ID, okay, find record data. How are you recognizing? Based on ID. Once you get save record. When I apply a save record, the record may be a success or a failure. I want to know whether it's a success or a failure. So I am going to give a dot get callback. So generally what we are going to do? Set callback. But here the database operation has happened. Now I am calling get callback, get the callback. So when you say get the callback, what I'm going to get? So look at the point. Component dot find my ID dot save record. After saving the record, get the callback. When you get the callback, I'm going to get save result. Once you got the save result, I want to check it. How do you check it? If the save result equal to success, do this. Save result equal to failure, do this. Save result equal to error, do this. Is a success or incomplete or error? Success or incomplete error. This is a logic part. There is a logic. I just want to check whether save result or status is success or a error or a incomplete. Right? Success do this, failure do this, error do this. Just save result dot state success, result dot state incomplete, result dot state error. So basically, how do you call? Tell me now. Now, what do you call? If force record data era ID equal to. Now, tell me how you write it. Component dot find ACC ID dot save record. First, save record. After saving record, there is a possibility of I want to get the callback. $a dot get callback. So when you say get a callback, it may be success or save result. Once you got the save result, I am going to say where state equal to save result dot. Then we are going to write a logic. If state equal to success else if as simple as this. Right? When you look at the sample code, a lot of things are given, but basically what they are trying to do? State equal to success, do this, else do this. Right? So what is associated with this, we'll be looking in the next session. So basically what we have seen for the day, we have seen using LD